Welcome to Fun Palais Podcast, where we are unpacking opinions and changing destinations. I am your host, Shirley Altador, where each week we will chat about how to rise strong out of all types of obstacles that come with relationships. Through personal life experiences and discussions ranging from infidelity, trust, forgiveness, sex, heartbreak, self-love, and so much more. I am passionate and obsessed to provide guidance to every woman to create a better life. Let's dive in, pull up a seat, make sure you're cozy, and get ready to be challenged and encouraged while you learn. With me, your virtual girlfriend. Welcome back to Fun Palais. Today we have another story time with Anung Vilay. She is the owner and operator of Courageous Creativity and also a podcast host. So thank you, Anung, for being on my show today. How are you?
Doing pretty good. I'm happy to be on.
Wonderful. Thank you for being a guest. I always love when my guests come on. But so we're going to start off with you sharing your story, and we're going to go from there.
Oh, it's kind of like, where do I start? Do I start? I love when people are like, start with your story. I'm like, you mean when I was born or?
Well, you can if you'd like, but we can start off with what was the most life-changing for you that made you, number one, create your website, write your book, become a podcast host?
I guess it was pretty much in college when I was kind of still figuring out what I wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
I graduated beginning of 2010, so that was just after the bubble burst, and no one was getting in. There was no way I was going to get into grad school. Jobs were kind of just a mess, anyways, and so I kind of just did a bunch of part-time jobs, side hustles, freelance stuff, just to make ends meet and try and figure out what I wanted to do. And kind of through a few years of back and forth, I started a blog that was, I'm not going to lie, awful. It was just kind of a lifetime things that just popped in my head. But after a while, I literally started to find different groups. I started finding different people and finding the things that I was really enjoying. And the Courageous Creativity kind of came out after a year of working with a coach, with a lot of exploration, exactly what I wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of a combination of everything that I've enjoyed doing,
Okay.
as well as things that I was actually found out I was good at. Because, of course, when you get kind of in the very beginning and you're just figuring stuff out, you don't really think you're good at anything.
Exactly. That imposter syndrome you fall into. You question, like, how am I to do this?
Yeah, like me helping people with money, I'm kind of like, I haven't made that much. I was kind of, but I pay all my bills. Like, just because I'm not making upwards six figures doesn't mean I'm not doing well. Where I literally stitch together a business, side hustles, and everything else
Mm-hmm.
to make a full-time living.
Okay.
And I actually enjoyed it. And I think that part of the reason too is that everyone else around me was miserable in their jobs, and I was enjoying what I was doing.
Okay, gotcha. So what did you major in college?
History, archaeology, and anthropology.
You are not doing that at all, my dear.
No. But one of my side hustles, I actually, I have one of my old professors, actually, every time I go somewhere in Europe, he'll pay me part of it just to go take pictures at museums or dig sites and stuff like that. So I make a little side, like another side hustle for me, was to do photography for him so he can have that for his lectures.
Okay, that's not bad. That's not bad at all. So now you leave college. Did you immediately? Okay, so I know you said you did a blog that was unsuccessful and you changed the name later on, I'm assuming?
Yeah.
Okay, so now you started Courageous Creativity. What is that about? Is it all about financing?
Oh, God, no.
Okay, share with us.
So I like to help misfits and black sheep. So people who are not wanting to live like what the quintessential normal American life is, of working 40 to 60 hours a week,
Mm-hmm.
hating their jobs, and still being kind of poor. Like I work through their mindset and their organization
Mm-hmm.
to create lives on whatever terms they want, whether it is starting a business, finding a job that they love. When I wrote my book, it's about making a full-time living on several side hustles, because I actually lived off of that for years. And so I work with people through that, with mostly mindset and mostly organization, because the very beginning is very hard for people because they don't know what they're supposed to know.
Okay, so you help people. So just to make sure I clarify, you help the black sheeps and mindset. And I guess so for someone like me, let's use me for example. What exactly would I come to you for if I needed like help budgeting, or if I maybe had a traumatic situation in my relationship? What does the coaching that you offer fall under?
It's more under expanding what you can see it's possible. So if people kind of want to they want something different, usually they're kind of like, well, I would like to try something as like a hobby. I'm like, I help them figure out how to organize their time and their space to allow that in,
Mm-hmm.
all the way up to trying to figure out how to turn something into a business.
Gotcha. Now, I'm still curious as of how did you land under this, but major under something completely different? Did something happen in college? Did something happen in school? Was there some life-changing experience that made you go blogging, helping people with mindset, money, coaching, doing something different?
Um, like part of it was I was moving around a lot when I first started.
Mm-hmm.
The way my business is now had taken a huge shift in the last like year and a half, about 2 years,
Okay.
only because I was going through a horrible divorce.
Okay.
And
And
that
do
this
you
this
want to share that with us? So, okay, so then let's scale back a little bit. So now after college, in between that, there was a marriage.
yes, me and my now ex, we were together a total of 10 years. And
Okay.
we met each other in college. After college, moved in, did a lot of moving, mostly for his work,
Okay.
because what I was doing didn't require a location really specifically.
Were you working from home?
For the most part, I was working from home, but I also worked part-time in um like grocery stores, bookstores, and stuff like that, just to kind of keep a steady income. But all of my freelance work and everything else still brought stuff in. It just wasn't consistent.
I gotcha. Gotcha. Okay. So now after college, Anung gets married, and good marriage, bad marriage. I'm assuming from what you're telling me, he was more of the breadwinner than you. He was making more money than you at the time.
Yeah, he was considered the breadwinner, but
But
I
you
still
were still
paid.
working.
Yeah, I was still working. There was no way we could have bought a house together only on his income.
Got
I
it.
sure is not on his credit.
Got it. Got it. Got it. Okay. So that was one of the reasons I'm assuming is the fact that your credit was good, his credit was bad.
Yeah, his was just pretty kind of dismal. It wasn't like horrible, but it was kind of one of those things of like, well, some people when they had money most of their life
Mm-hmm.
are not very cognizant of like, oh, I missed a payment. That's not a bad thing. Where the rest of us like, oh my god, I missed a payment. Like that's going to drop your credit score horribly, and that can ruin your life for a good 6 months.
And we're
Him,
going
it
to
didn't mean
come
a
back
thing.
to that. And I like that you mentioned that because I'm assuming in your blog, is that something you also help people with?
Yeah, I do some.
Okay, because I wanted to comment on that, what you say about credit, because like you said, there are two types of people out there. There are some people that are going to be like, I'll worry about it later. And some people literally are going to have anxiety attacks because they missed a payment. But we'll come back to that. You can continue. Sorry.
Yeah, and so like the marriage, God, we waited a while. I think we waited a good 6-7 years before we actually got married,
Oh,
partially
okay.
because we wanted to make sure we saved up. We were being responsible about the stuff,
Exactly.
about money wise, about whether or not like we wanted to be settled enough to know that we were working well together.
Gotcha. Okay.
But I say after we finally had our own house, part of the problem was that he started working from home, and he's one of those people who cannot.
Okay.
He does not do well by himself.
Okay. And that makes sense because that same way with children, I shouldn't say children because once you're in college, you're considered an adult. I guess that's like doing school work from like I did college at home for a period of time, it takes an extreme amount of discipline. So the same role goes along with work is what I'm trying to say. So I
Yeah,
guess he
and
didn't have that discipline.
no, and he thought he could. He was trying. His problem was that he was still looking for who he was,
Mm-hmm.
and so he started following what I was doing because I was enjoying what I was doing. I do great working from home. One, I am a huge introvert. Like if I don't have to talk to anybody sometimes for weeks, I'm perfectly fine.
I understand, girl. I am. That's 80% of what I am a majority of the time, especially with this podcast and me flying as a flight attendant. People wonder how. I know how to turn it off and on.
Yeah, and that's the thing too. Like I did years of customer service
Mm-hmm.
because I had to, not
Yeah.
because I wanted to. But he had that problem. But the problem was is once he started getting too comfortable,
Uh-huh.
he lives with him. He's not gone. Oh my god,
He lives with
he's
you?
lived. No.
Oh.
He's lived with depression and anxiety most of his life,
Oh, okay. Okay.
and so no. I didn't want to say like he wasn't living anymore.
Oh,
That's
okay.
that's
No,
what
at
I
first
meant.
I thought, oh, he's still living there. Okay.
No.
Okay. Okay. So
No,
that's another issue, depression and anxiety, which is huge for a person. And you don't realize that.
yeah. And the thing is, like, yes, I am. I tried to support him as best I could. I'm the
Mm-hmm.
one who helped convince him. It took me several years to convince him to finally get medication. But as the years went on, he started getting complacent. Things got too easy for him
Mm-hmm.
that he stopped trying. And so after a while, his mental health turned into I should have been taking care of it. I should have been the one telling him to take medicine, but I'm nagging if I tell him too many times. It's my fault if he didn't have his medication refill. And so after a while, it kind of turned into everything was my problem, even though it was his mental health.
So is it like a gaslighting issue too? Like now he's making you seem like, were you feeling like a crazy person? Like, wait a minute, I'm doing the best that I can here, but you're
In
making
the
me seem
beginning,
like I
no.
wasn't.
Yeah, in the beginning, no, but part of it, like I do understand because I talked with his psychiatrist and therapist a lot,
Uh-huh.
is that a lot of it was his own mental health was spiraling him out
Yeah.
of control.
Yep.
It wasn't until the last year that it started to border on abusive.
Gotcha.
And
Verbal?
I do say border on it because he would skirt it to see how it was, and then when I shut it down pretty quickly, it wasn't gonna be an option for him. And that's what I feel like. If I was more quiet about it, I feel like he could easily went that direction.
And are we talking about verbal or physical or emotional or all a combination of all three?
More verbal.
Okay.
The last bit, emotional from the beginning, but he tried to be financially abusive at the very end.
Oh, I see.
But that didn't work because at the end he didn't even have a job.
Do you feel as though it's because he felt as though he was losing control and he wanted to have that control again when it became financial?
I feel partially because that, and partially because he got it in his head that somehow I turned into a gold digger. And like somehow that's the reason why I married him, was kind of like when we were together, neither of us had money. So I'm kind of like, how was I supposed to know you were going to get money?
And I don't mean to interrupt you, but this is a prime example of when there's mental issues that are not addressed from the beginning. And how would you were supposed to know? And now, you're falling in love with this guy. Things are going great. And if he's keeping things from you that now you're not finding out till later, that's an issue too, and not properly being addressed once you find out.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, we tried it. I'm still really on good terms with his family because we're all trying to keep him alive and everything else, and keep him healthy because of his mental health. And there were times where it just got out of control. And yeah, some of it was not his fault, but my thing was, and always will be when it comes to people who are always criticize me of it, is that his mental health explains it. It doesn't excuse it.
I completely agree. I don't agree with people that consistently like to say over and over, my childhood this, my childhood that, because I went through this, because I went through that. But now you, as an adult, you have the ability to combat that. You have the option to go to therapy, to figure out ways to change your mindset, to change that whole thought process, because what, you're going to allow that to cripple you for the rest of your life and just continue to blame your childhood and use that as an excuse forever and ever?
Yeah, and part of the problem too is because he he didn't understand, which only know this because I've been with other friends who had a lot of mental health issues, and my mom is also a nurse, so I know both sides of it enough that after a while your medication stops working, so you have to always adjust. After, it could be after a few years, it could be after 10, 20 years, there's always going to be a time you have to adjust, and he never could understand that. So when it got to a point where his medicine wasn't working, he wasn't doing anything about it, he started self-medicating with alcohol.
Oh, that's even worse.
Yeah, which that was really what spiraled things out of control the last year and a half.
And how long have you been divorced now?
Let's see, we separated. We both decided on it in October of 2019.
This
physically
is fresh.
Separated. Yeah, so physically separated in January of 2020.
Right around the pandemic.
Yeah.
So I guess thank Jesus, right? Oh, gee, yeah. Girl.
I know. I was like, I got out at the perfect time. Oh my God.
Oh my goodness. To be trapped with your ex.
That would have sucked. I would have lived in my car.
Girl, I can't even imagine. To be in presence with someone that you already are not getting along with, that's not cool. Okay, so officially separated January of 2020. And when is divorce still in motion presently right now?
No, it finally was finalized in October 2020.
Got it. Okay, well, and congratulations. The worst part, is that something for me to say?
Oh, yeah, no, believe it. Everyone else is like, oh, I'm sorry. I'm like, no, give me some candles, give me some fireworks. I will eat some cake. I am so happy for it.
Okay. So, all right. That's amazing that you're looking at it from a positive light. So, in the midst of the tumultuous marriage, when did courageous creativity come into play? Was it during that time?
It pretty much was my touch point because.
Was it your safe haven?
Yeah, because me working in it, it was like I could still dream in there. There was still hope for me to do stuff. And that's when I really was kind of like, when I was debating on the divorce, I was also like debating on what exactly I wanted my life to be like. And as I was going through of like whether or not to stay with him, how I could or cannot help him, like how can I help myself? How can I actually do better? And that's how I kind of got into it. Because before I was always thinking that what I could give people should be more tangible stuff, like more practical things. I never thought of mindset because I was like, no one ever thought of myself or myself thought of me as like a mindset person, as someone who dug deep into that, because it's just kind of something that I never developed. It was not what my friends and family think of me. So kind of just was never in my radar.
Gotcha. And it's good you were able to remain strong and level-headed during this rough time and not allow his verbal abuse to get to you. Especially when you're trying to do the best that you can for your husband and he's making it feel as though you're not doing anything. So now that the divorce is final and, courageous creativity, I always have to think about it. It's a tongue twister for me. Courageous creativity is active and live. How do you feel after the divorce? I know you said you're proud, but like when it comes to your business and the divorce, do you feel as though is there anything maybe you could have done better? Or, well, there's always room for improvement, I feel. But do you even think there's a possibility that you and your ex-husband could get back together again if he was to get the proper help that he needed?
No, absolutely not. Like I've actually had people ask me this because strangely enough, my parents got divorced and got back together. Like later in my life. So they got divorced when I was in elementary school and they got back together when I was in high school. So I know in his mind, in other people's minds, that it's a possibility because it's in my history. And for me, it's an absolutely no. I would never go back to that. I feel like I settled for too long and I really don't want that with what I wanted, what I had in my life, where I lived, what I accepted in our relationship.
Gotcha. Okay, that's understandable. So now, when did becoming a podcast host go into play after the blog started? Is it okay that I
Uh,
call it a blog?
yeah, it's pretty. There's a blog in there. It doesn't bother me. I
Okay.
know some people are like, no, it's more sophisticated. I'm like, no, it's got a blog in there.
Okay.
I, God, I'm trying to think. It was, God, 4 years ago.
Oh,
Yeah,
so this is all taking place during this time.
yeah. Like I had my second podcast started around the beginning of um my problems in my marriage.
So I see this is definitely why this was an escape for you.
Yeah. Like
I-
I love podcasting, which is very funny for a lot of people thinking that I'm an introvert.
But I don't think
But
they understand though, because like you and I, like two introverts talking right now, this is nothing uncomfortable. And remember, we're in our safe place. So it's like
yeah.
we're not out in this whole social environment. So I get it. And I think maybe when people think of podcasters, do you think they relate it to radio host and you should be this like huge, big, lively person and have all types of people scattered around you?
Yeah, I feel like that's part of it too, but there's a lot of the big names out there that they're such big characters. And there's
Yes.
always like huge interviews and there's just so much action to it. While like, when introverts do, we're like, we want to discuss it. Let me dig into this.
Yes, I totally agree. And you know, as an introvert, I'm totally okay with the big interviews, but there's a separation between us. And me as an introvert, like this virtual, like even though, okay, we could see each other, like your screen is not showing right now, but we can see each other. I still consider that's like introvert life for me. Like I can't physically touch you.
And
You
that's
know?
a good thing.
Yes, I cannot physically touch you, but I can see you and we're talking and we're chatting and we're conversing. And, you know, this is a great thing. But okay, so you were doing podcast hosting during this whole time. So I
Yeah.
understand why this was a great escape for you. Gotcha. Okay, so now it's making a tremendous amount of sense to me. You know, do you think if it wasn't for what you went through, would everything even exist? Would courageous creativity even exist if you didn't experience what you went through? Sometimes, do you think that negative in your life brought out this positive?
I feel like it would have came up, but I feel like it sped it up.
I
Like I
see.
feel like it just kind of my life, my body, my whatever. I don't know if people want to say believe in destiny or whatever I'm supposed to do in life. It just kind of it sped up to be kind of like you deserve better. This is what it's available for you. Go for that. And it kind of kicked me in the butt. Like it really was kind of like get out.
Get out, do this. Okay, this is going to be your escape. I got you. I'm watching you, girl. God's got you. So now, what do you offer? Now, how does your coaching work? Is it one-on-one? Is it virtual? Well, one-on-one is still virtual, I should say. But what type of coaching services do you offer? And definitely go into definite details. Someone who, like prime example, a woman who's been divorced, would she come to you to just talk to you and about what?
I do some coaching, more one-on-one. I actually more do. I am like a guest coach for other people's programs a lot of times.
How does that,
Oh,
like a guest coach? So like a large group?
yeah, like if someone does a group coaching program and
Oh,
I come in as an expert for a certain thing, where like I came in one time to do one speech and kind of answer questions for people about how to start your business small, like a side hustle, and then build it up to a full-time business, or how
oh,
to work through your mindset of how your story of you growing up can change and damage your idea of money in the future.
got it. Got it. And then when it comes to money for someone who's struggling, do you help people kind of gain control of their monthly budget, how to save? Where does your expertise lie when it comes to that?
It's more the mindset. I can give them directions. I can give them basic stuff on about budgeting, about how to kind of get your stuff under control. But I more get on the underneath stuff because that's what's going to sabotage you. Everyone knows how to save.
Hmm.
Everyone knows how to pay off bills. But if you have the mindset of this stress, it gets too much to you. So I got to feel better. I'm going to go out to eat instead of figuring out how to deal with that stress and not spend the money.
I see. Okay. That makes sense okay. So kind of letting people understand that if you're going through something, so prime example, when I was going through something with, in my, relationship, both my partner and I, we both cheated. So and I know there were times where, girl, I wouldn't even eat, let alone spending money on food. But I guess you could have definitely helped me realize that I need to figure out how to get out of the funk that I'm in. Because I want people to make sure they understand, how can Ung help me? Depending
Yeah.
on what they're going through in their life.
Yeah, because everything has emotions, it has history all tied up into. No matter what you do, like the habits you do, you created them under whatever pretenses of whatever things going on in your life. Like I've had habits that the most innocuous ones of like putting your dishes on the side of the sink instead of inside the sink, because at one time I lived in a house where even a little bit of water and food got in there, it would clog it. And we would always have to call for somebody. So that was like, that's a habit. I always put my dishes to the side instead of in the sink.
I see. Okay. Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, so a good chunk of what I do some one-on-one, not very often anymore, because I am shifting a little bit to do more online stuff like courses. And when I wrote my book, I've been trying to write for 2-3 years, and the moment I moved out, I was able to write in like 6 months.
So you moved out January of 2020. Within 6 months of that time, you were able to publish your book.
Yeah, I was able to finish writing it. Sadly, the editing took a lot longer than I was hoping.
Of course. Now, tell us a little bit about the book and how does it intertwine with your business and the podcasting? How does everything fall together? And a little bit about what the book is about and your why behind the book.
I guess I always like starting with the why. Like I've always wanted to be a writer, and I've always had these plans. I have a huge folder of like 20, 30 book ideas I have out there already outlined. It's just, I finally had the drive to do it. It is about side hustles. So it's about starting a side hustle to get extra money, to whether it is to pay off for something, to be able to afford your kids going to like an expensive sport. Like in Minnesota, hockey is really expensive. So having a side hustle to make sure the kid can actually play could be your goal. Or or whether or not you want to just be able to afford a nicer vacation every year.
Got it.
But I do it all the way to having multiple side hustles to make a full-time living.
How many side hustles do you have?
Right now?
Yes.
12.
Child. Woman. I shouldn't even say child. Woman. You have 12. If you don't mind, can you please are you able to break all of them down, or are they really complicated?
There are a few of them I can. A few of them I cannot, only because I have an NDA for them.
NDA. Please. What is that?
A non-disclosure agreement.
Got it. Okay. So tell me the few that you can. Out of the 12, how many can you disclose to us?
A good chunk of them. There's like 3 or 4 of them I can't, because they're too tied in together.
That's fine. People don't need to know all that. So what are the other like 8? What is it? My math is rusty. Is it 8?
Okay.
Yeah, the other 8.
Yeah. So the thing is, when I say that, I usually say within the year of ones that I do. Like not everything is happening at the moment. Like,
yes, true. I understand that, because the one you told me is seasonal. The pictures.
Yeah. So I do photography. One of them is with the professor that I help out with. Another one is I just sell my wildlife and landscape photography.
Got it.
Sometimes to magazines.
Got it.
I work at the Renaissance Festival.
Got it.
Let's see, I'm trying to think. I have a apparel line.
Apparel line. What is that?
Yeah. Apparel. So I have like leggings and t-shirts and stuff.
Oh, an apparel. Got it.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay, go ahead.
I'm trying to think all of a sudden. There is an event that we have like a home tours for like when like businesses do really big renovations and everything else. I help with that sometimes. That's literally just 3 weekends in 1 month.
But that's still included because that's something you're doing every year to help out.
Yes.
And that's income
and it pays really well.
Got it. And what are the other, because I think you said 5 here. Do you include, so the blog and the podcast, is that of course 1? And that's like 1 and 2? Another?
See, Courageous Creativity has my 2 podcasts, soon to be 3rd,
Oh my
and my
gosh.
book. Yeah, those are all kind of like, I have that under the umbrella of that business.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
And then the book.
Yeah, and then my writing is another one.
When you say you're writing, for example, I have a freelance writer that I work with. I'm also just taking on oh gosh, what did she focuses more on SEO content. So that's what you mean by writing. What's your specialty when it comes to writing?
I started off just doing small blog posts, so I did like lists and kind of just funny things out there.
Uh-huh.
And I actually I even though these are all subjects that are not the same, I kind of just put them all the same under there. I actually have a few very short stories of erotica.
Okay.
I hope my mom doesn't hear this because she hates hearing about it.
You are an adult. It's okay. You know what? It's great. You're not the first woman to tell me that. And what? You're in your 30s,
Yeah.
Yeah, girl. I had one girl too. She said she was actually 25 and it was just so funny. She said, my mom asked me if I had sex not too long ago. And I said, no.
Oh no, my mom knows about all that stuff and everything else. Is just
Well,
the
true.
idea.
You were married in your case, but even like you're an adult, mom would be okay.
Yeah.
I think we make our parents I think our parents are in tune to things more than we want to believe.
Oh no,
they are.
she's told me before, like, do not talk about that around me, please.
She probably doesn't want to hear any of it.
Yeah, because because I literally got a call from someone kind of like, oh, I just saw your book out there, and then we're like, what do you mean book? Because I was literally at my family gathering, and I'm like, oh yeah, I have a couple of short stories out there, and I was kind of like, oh my god, please don't have grandma come by.
Oh, that's too funny. That is too funny. Okay, so this woman has 12 side hustles. You know what? So now I can't feel bad about, because every now and then I contemplate about adding. I have the blog and the podcast are one umbrella. And then, of course, I'm a flight attendant. I want to add a third, but I feel like I'm going to go mad and I'm going to go crazy and it's too much and I don't want to overstress myself. Okay, where do you find the time?
It's part of it is my personality because I am very good at organizing. I'm very good at compartmentalizing.
And you have to be with the way you have everything like laid out. Now, granted, we do understand, listeners, this is not all happening all at the same time. So let's put that out there.
Yeah, like the month and a half I do the Renaissance Festival, I almost do that exclusively. I only do a little bit from Courageous Creativity on that.
Okay.
Everything else is nothing because the Renaissance Festival is literally like 7 a.m. to 8 p.m.
Got it.
Like 3 days a week. Mm-hmm. And I am exhausted. And I usually sleep the day after it every week.
Mm-hmm.
Like all day because I'm exhausted.
Makes sense. Okay. All right. So finish telling us more about your book. And you, is there anything else you want to say with all the side hustles? Because obviously you are the side hustle queen here. No one should be sitting on their ass at all. Okay. If you want to figure out how to make extra side money and have income coming in from all types of places, you should most likely read the book, The Woman with the 12 Side Hustles. But go ahead. Tell us a little more about it.
Yeah. So I wanted to get, I put it into 3 sections. The first one was kind of just the idea of the mindset behind what exactly you can and cannot do with side hustles. Uh-huh. And the thing is that you're allowed to just leave it small, for one. Like there's always been a push where a lot of people with me were like, oh, why don't you do that full time? Like, yeah, Renaissance Festival, I could have gone to Circuit, which is you go from all the different festivals throughout the U.S. I can't do that. I don't want to camp at some place and not get a shower every day. That I can't do that.
Gotcha. Totally understand. I'm all into that too. I need a shower and a toilet.
Yes. And then I move on to just how you get started, how you organize everything in the very beginning. But then also I give you the idea of how you can run several of them, like how you can run them with your life, with having kids, with having a full-time job, whether or not you want several side hustles. So I help them with the organization, but also the mindset of what you need to be able to do it. And part of it is now for me, I do get help. There are programs out there who can take care of things for me. Like we all have schedulers for like our podcast. So they can send the link for us. We don't have to worry about it. I actually have someone now who does all my blog posts for me. They just listen to my podcast episodes, make a blog post out of it, and there we go.
Oh, you do that. Okay, gotcha, gotcha. So like a VA, right?
Yes, I have a VA, and they do my they make my social media graphics. They do my blog posts for me. At some point, I'm going to get them to do a lot more, only because
Gotcha. So you're
I
not
don't.
scared to delegate.
No, believe me. The very first thought I had was like, how quickly can I make more money so someone else can take the stuff out? The moment I could, the very first thing I had them do was take with email writing off my hands because I absolutely hate writing emails.
You're same here. I'm not really, I need to create formats, just cut and paste, cut and paste.
Yeah, so I have someone else do my. I have a monthly newsletter.
Mm-hmm.
I know some people are like, you should do it weekly. I'm kind of like, I don't care.
It's a lot. They don't realize when that stuff goes out. So, people who send emails out every day. I don't even know how.
I know someone who does it every other day.
I can't.
And I'm kind of like,
Once a week, I think is sufficient.
yeah, and I still don't want that for most places, for most people.
But okay, all right. And where can people find your book?
Well, they can get on my website, but it's actually everywhere. I have an ebook as well as a paperback version. You can get on Amazon. You can get on Barnes and Noble. There's actually most independent bookstores can order them now too.
Okay, and do you plan on doing Audible?
I'm trying to. Even though I do a podcast,
Mm-hmm.
I can figure out the audio part. The actual formatting is actually what's my problem.
I guess that's a whole nother topic for us. I guess it's not as fluid as I think it should be.
No, I thought it would be too. I'm like, oh, I can record this. I have the equipment.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking in my mind.
Yeah, so
But
I
it's
will.
not.
I'm working on it. That
Okay.
is something I do want, and
Okay.
I'm already working on my next 2 books, and
Okay.
excited.
All right. More streams of income, which is great, great, great. And you know what? You motivated me today to realize that even though you have 12 streams of income, they're not all happening at the same time, number one. So at different seasons in the year or in your life, these things are happening and you can incorporate them when need be. And also, even though you have all these going on, you're still delegating. And the mindset is, if I delegate this work, that frees up opportunity for me to possibly go make extra money.
Yes, because if I don't have to write my blog post, I can keep writing my book.
Exactly. Exactly. Gotcha. And this is great. So the last thing I wanted to ask you is about yourself. You're not scared to date, correct? Now that the divorce is officially final and
No.
things are going great in your life, is marriage something you still want?
I'm kind of iffy about it. My thing was, I actually, when I first started dating my ex, marriage wasn't a big thing for me in the first place. And he just kind of the thing is, that's why I was like, we waited so long to get engaged. And then we waited several years after that to get married. So it's just kind of it's not a necessary thing if it kind of comes up.
Okay.
It's fine on the other guy's end. But for me, I'm kind of like, if we can just be together, I'm fine with that.
Well, I'm not officially married. My partner and I have been together over 20, counting all the years, over 20 years. There's no common law in New Jersey, but that's what we would be considered. But, in the state that we live in, we're not registered as a married couple, but we've been living together. We have a whole house. We have 2 children, the whole shebang.
Yeah, because my thing, I definitely know that I will never change my name again.
Okay. And there's nothing wrong with that either.
Well, the thing is, part of the problem is all my business stuff is under my name. You know how much that costs to change the name?
Is the last name now, is that the marriage name?
No, my Vilay is actually my maiden name. I actually just finally changed it all back. And just because I have a trademark for Courageous Creativity, it cost me several $100s just to change my name for the trademark.
Yep. And even doing the trademark is expensive. So now you have to go back and change your name. So I totally get you.
Yeah, so I will never change my name again. And so if a guy has a problem with that, then I guess we're not getting married.
Girl, I understand your mindset and I'm right there with you, lady. I'm right there with you. So We're going to wrap up today. And just to kind of give a little briefing of what we discussed today, we have Ung, who is the queen, I call her, of side hustles. Now she doesn't make me wanting to do something else. I don't feel too bad about it with all the things she has going on. But you have a woman who went through a tumultuous time in her marriage, and she took that negative, and she's a prime example. She took that negative, she turned it into a positive, and she still has been able to be extremely great in her life, even through the hard times. And she doesn't use that as a cripple. It's her message. It's her testimony to let you guys know, don't let that negative that you're going through bring you down. Figure out how to get out of that. And also, aside from her book, please remind me, what's the name again?
Living Off the Hustle.
Living Off the Hustle. It is available everywhere. Am I correct?
Yes.
Pretty much everywhere. And for those of you Amazon shoppers, they can find it there, right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, wonderful. And all the information also for her book will be on the website, and you guys will have direct links if you need to go straight to where to purchase her book. So definitely you want to check her out if you are thinking about having a side hustle, because, in my opinion, if you only have one stream of income, something's wrong. You need to be doing something else, okay? Because especially after what happened to our world last year, you need a couple side hustles to tap into, because don't be trying to rely on the government and unemployment to pay you, because all these messages I was hearing about what people were going through and they weren't getting their money on time, to think you work as hard as you work and your money's not flowing in like it should. And I'm a prime example of, if I didn't have savings and other things going on and I just relied on unemployment to just flow like I wanted to, I would have been flat on my face and we probably would have had no home. So definitely tap into her book, read her book, get her book, because she fascinates me with 12 side hustles. I like that. But we're going to end today. And as always, when we end, we always want to say, love yourself, voice yourself, and be yourself. Until the next podcast, guys, have a great one. Thanks for tuning in to Fanpale Podcast. If you want to continue the conversation or share your takeaways, I want to hear from you. Head on over to the website or join our Facebook community and comment your favorite part of the show or share your thoughts. I want to hear what you have to say. Don't forget to rate and subscribe to the podcast so you never miss an episode. Chat with you next week.